Most people are pretty decent. It's a really radical and subversive idea. It means that we can totally change the way we live right now and how we organize our society. Why do we so often think that most other people are selfish? Well, it all starts with the kind of information we get. We all follow the news. And the news is mostly about exceptions. It's about things that go wrong: corruption, crises, terrorism. If you watch the news all the time, you know exactly how the world doesn't work. You have this upside down view of human history and human nature.
Good morning. Welcome to Mindset, Heartset, Reset. For all of you that are coming in from Humanity's live stream, Facebook on Humanity's team and Facebook on Bright Vibes Media this morning, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you all here today. We have a phenomenal guest lined up for the show today. We're excited to introduce to you. And that story that you just saw on screen, that's just a little bit of what we're going to talk about today and what our guests will be sharing with you. So welcome for everybody that's coming in. If you're coming in from YouTube, Facebook, or Humanity Stream Live, welcome to the show. This is Mindset, Heartset, Reset. We are a dynamic weekly live show that provokes introspection. I can see my words are going to be tripping over already today. We cultivate compassion and spark positive change, both within yourself, in your communities, and around the world. Through our insightful discussions with really remarkable guests, we're going to show you practical tools based on authentic real-life stories that are going to nurture your own mindset, open your heart, and give you the courage to hit the reset in your own life. Our mission is so simple. It's to expand love at a global scale with a vision to shift humanity's future to one which we can all thrive. So I'd like to welcome my co-host today and every day, the beautiful Dr. Roshanak Hashimoon. Welcome to the show as well, my friend, this morning. She's going to pop up on screen in 1 second. Dr. Roshanak is a credentialed computational, clinical, and behavioral neuroscientist whose work has supported and transformed countless lives all over the world. She's the founder of Access to the Path and combines the power and process of science with the emotional and spiritual intelligence to really generate compelling and innovative strategies for your own life and businesses to become more purposeful and effective. So Dr. Roshanak, welcome to the stage this morning and welcome to the space. I'm so excited to get started.
Oh, wait, I'm muted.
No, you're not. You're good.
Oh, no. Okay, yay.
Welcome.
Hi.
You're here.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Thank you so much. The beautiful, wonderful Jacqueline Way. And I am Dr. Roshanak Hashimoon. We are super excited to have you join us today. Welcome, welcome, welcome from wherever you are. If you're listening to us live, you are welcome to put your questions into the chat on whichever platform you are, and ourselves and we and the production team will be keeping an eye on that, and we will relay those questions and try to answer them as best we can. We are super excited to round out our fifth and final episode relating to conscious business. Today, we are talking about conscious business, of course. And, we've been lucky because our show is live on Tuesdays, and we've had 5 opportunities to bring forth 5 different aspects, perspectives, angles that approach all the same thing, which is conscious business. And why is conscious business so important? Because everybody wants to make an impact. Everybody wants to influence. We want to live in a better world, and we'd like to make a living doing it. Enter conscious business. So this is really how we can deeply connect ethics and integrity into our daily practices, because our work takes up typically at least 1/3 of our day, doesn't it? 1/3 is sleep, that's 8 hours. 1/3 is work, that's 8 hours. And then the 1/3 is whatever else we're doing. But we don't take ourselves out of the equation. We take ourselves wherever we go. And, what we create, we can call it business, and whatever angle or perspective you want to talk about that. So conscious business, whether you're a founder, whether you're a leader, whether you're an employee, whether you have a side hustle, whether you're a solopreneur or entrepreneur, all of it converges onto how are we bringing forth what we create into this world. And so we have the most perfect person here today to join us, that is joining us, our guest. I'm going to try to say this correctly. Michiel de Gooijer. Oh boy, why did I trip over that one? Michiel de Gooijer. And he is the founder of Bright Vibes Media, a conscious content creator. And so, as we are, many of us on social media, as all of us are, listening to some form of media or reading some form of media, it becomes really important how we approach our media consumption and our media creation. As well, storytelling, of course, because isn't that how we relay our experiences to each other? So that innovative approach of mixing ethics with integrity into business that is known as conscious business really relies heavily on how do you present that. So beautifully, we look at integrity together with sustainability, together with ethical practices that really powerfully bring home the elements of how we have the foundation, how we create the foundation, and how we can make it sustainable, this business of which we speak. So we're super excited to go forward today and discuss what we are discussing with our amazing guest today. I would like to introduce him with a short bio first, if you don't mind. I'm going to pull it up so I don't mess it up. Michiel is known as Mr. Bright Vibes. 9 years ago, he took his vast experience from leading companies like Endemol International, Talpa, and Digitas and channeled it into founding Bright Vibes, a platform dedicated to amplifying the good in the world. Michiel's journey is as a seasoned intrapreneur to an enthusiastic entrepreneur reflects his commitment to making a positive impact. At Bright Vibes, he and his team create and share contagiously inspiring stories that not only influence millions, but also support beautiful initiatives and brands. This fuels his passion for fostering positive change, both personally and professionally. Before Bright Vibes, Michiel was instrumental in establishing new digital business units at 3 blue chip companies, enhancing his reputation as a multi-skilled, young-thinking, international digital executive. His expertise spans digital marketing, branded content creation, brand and mobile strategy, and partnership management. Describing himself as engaged, creative, commercial, and strategic, Michiel is a do-gooder at heart. He is driven by a contagious passion for content, brands, and innovation, which he believes can transform consumer behavior and open new business opportunities while contributing to societal betterment. Michiel has a deep interest in the sharing and collaborative economy, sustainable energy, personal development, and social enterprise. Known for his humor and perspective, he strives to leave a positive impact on everyone he meets. And honestly, can't we say that about all of us? We're super excited to have you join us. Welcome, Michiel.
Wow, that is what a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. I'm blushing. So thank you, Dr. Roshanek, and thank you, Jacqueline, for having me on the show. It's fantastic to be here. Thank you. And
It's our pleasure to welcome you.
Beautiful full circle moment for me, my friend. As we know, I'm very blessed that our paths crossed a lot of years ago. And, you know, I always say we can call it fate, we can call it synchronicity, all of those things. But, you know, I'm so proud to say now that Bright Vibes and Michiel are beautiful partners with 365 Give. We work together to teach and inspire other people through schools. You know, 365 Give literally uses Michiel's videos that he has created to teach our schools and our classrooms about giving and being of service and inspiration and empowerment. So this is such a beautiful moment for me, my friend. And listen, I've had the privilege of spending time with you in person, which always literally overflows my heart when we get that time together. And it's the part I really want people to see of you today as well. Not just the business side, but I think every business has a heart. And that's what I always see in you, which is so beautiful. And a little unique way, we're going to start the show because we rarely say, you know, tell us about yourself or tell us about your work. We usually dive right into, you know, the conscious business matter at heart. But I think what's so important about this conversation with us today is that, you know, Bright Vibes is, yes, a brainchild for you. And I think that's when we look at people's businesses, a lot of time it's their brainchild. I really see this as your heart child because it's who you are. This isn't just an idea that you had, but this to me is almost you in real life, the way that you show up, who you are, how you interact with the world, and most importantly, what you want to leave as an imprint and a mark on this world, the impact and the legacy. And this is what you do every single day of your life. So what I love for people to know beyond your bio is tell us about you a little bit from your own perspective, and then how that ties into the story of Bright Vibes, how it came to be, where did it come from? Because you're a powerful creator. I mean, 2 million following plus, 200 million counts. Like, you're the kind of person that people go, right? But I know you so well. And yes, you take everyone's breath away. So tell us who you are, my friends.
Wow. Again, I'm almost speechless. It's like, okay, how do I top this? But so I am Michiel. I started Bright Vibes it's almost 10 years ago. I can hardly believe it myself, to be honest. Um, and yeah, shall I share with you how it came about? Um, because it has to do, basically, I talk a lot about family, and I talk about a lot about my own family. And I have a beautiful wife, and I've got 3 beautiful sons. But basically, I feel like I am a father of 4. So 3 basically born from their mother, and 1 born from me, and that is Bright Vibes. But I would say that the heart and soul of my kids, I think, is very much in Bright Vibes itself. Um, yeah, how it came about. I mean, there are basically 2 very important moments I would say about 11 years ago. Um, about 11 years ago, I had this realization that I officially thought that I had a so-called, sorry for my English, but a bullshit job. I worked at a big digital agency. And I recall really, really well working with a big oil company with wonderful people, 5 people from this client. I'm not going to mention the name, but 5 people from this oil company, 5 people from my team. And at that time, I was responsible for mobile app development. And we were discussing with this oil company whether the design of the app, whether the details, whether the corners, whether they should be rounded or they should be 90 degrees. And we were discussing that for like, I would say like 30 minutes or so. And we're having like fierce discussions about that. 10 people who are highly educated, nice people. And we were basically discussing these futile details. And I care about details, by the way. But in this case, what do we contribute to? I mean, nothing positive at all. And I try to live as sustainable as possible lifestyle, which doesn't mean that I'm a saint. And I do fly sometimes, and I do sometimes eat meat. And, so I'm far from a saint, but I try to live as sustainable as possible. And then being full-time working with an oil company, trying to persuade people to fill up their car at that company and not at the other one. I had this realization like I feel like I'm really wasting my talent. So there was one thing, there's one snapshot moment. And at the same time that I was feeling like I was being very inconsistent with my personal values in my work, in my personal life, I had one of my sons, Lucas. At that time, he was about 10 years old. He had to go to the hospital, and he was hospitalized for about 10 days. He even had to go to intensive care. By the way, everything is fine now with Lucas. So it was just for about 10 days. But we've had some very serious worries and very important conversations with my wife, but also with my kids. And I remember in the hospital, where I have so much respect for the people working in the hospital, and it goes from the people, from the surgeons to the people that bring the coffee or the tea. And actually, there was this one lady who brought the coffee and the tea. She was such a sweet lady. And when I was cycling home together with my youngest son sitting in front of me and on the bike, knowing that the next day Lucas would be, released from the hospital, and we were cycling. And I saw this wonderful lady who was so sweet, always bringing the lunch and stuff. And we saw her waiting at the bus stop, and I went to thank her for how sweet she was. And my youngest son, who at that time was about 8 years old, he said, it's so amazing that this lady is so sweet because she works at a place with people who do not actually want to be there because these people are ill or there's something wrong physically with them. And then my son asked me, he said, Dad, and what is it that you do? And my answer was, well, I help an oil company, which goes against my personal values, having discussions about corners, whether they should be rounded or 90 degrees. No, I didn't tell him that. I just had to tell him another story. I had to make something up, basically. And those two moments put together made me realize, man, I am wasting my talent and I need to make a change. And that is the start of the birth of Bright Vibes.
I love that story. It's such a great story. I didn't know that story from the beginning, which is amazing. So I love that you share that with us, because it's what we always say, right? It's our stories and it's what you do that go, oh, how can I look at my own life that way? And listen, the 365 Give story wasn't so far off as well, where I looked around the world and went, what am I going to show my kids? Right.
What our children teach us.
Right. Completely and totally. They get us to look a little closer at ourselves and how we're showing up in the world, don't they?
Exactly. Exactly.
I love how you brought forth, first of all, a beautiful story, and thankfully with a happy ending. And you're all about these beautiful happy endings, I think, and bringing so we can choose what we bring to light. And I love that the first thing you've brought to light, truth. I think that when we show our truth, we give everybody else permission to be human. And we all need that right now so much, because especially if you go further into like the US, we generally are so bound by the narratives that are meant to define us. And by define us, I mean, tell us whether or not what we're thinking, doing, being, etc., is worthy, worthwhile, has value. And that's sad at best. So being able to counter that with truth instead of just a narrative that may serve for advertising, for unconscious business, etc. The second thing I love that you did is that you showed that we are inseparable ourselves personally, as I said in the beginning when I did the introduction to this episode. Thank you for making me not look like a liar. Is that we are inseparable from what we do. We always bring ourselves wherever we go. There is no escape from self. And so, as you said, Jacqueline, our children can help us bring to life sometimes the misalignment that occurs. We fall out of alignment with what I call the capital S self, which is the intransient self, and the small s self, which is the construct of self, right? And that's not to say, the different roles and aspects of ourselves, of our identity that we show appropriately, but rather the ones that we get lost in. And the number one regret of the dying is that I wish I'd lived a life that was true to myself and not what others wanted for me. This is from Ronnie Ware, who was a hospice nurse's book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And so when we're talking about all that we're talking about now and moving forward in this episode, at least, and in our last episode, we had Paul Terrell here, the ex-CFO of Gaia, who said, who was really passionate about how what we're going through within ourselves and the work that we do for our own personal development, which also started off our series with Dr. Fuad Alameh saying, the connection between, elucidating the connection between personal development and professional expression. Storytelling, as you've shown us, is inseparable from all of that, as is the sense of value. So I'll start first with storytelling, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I'll ask you to help us all understand better the impact and the import of storytelling to our business, our brand, our organizational culture, and our own selves and our understanding of the world, if you would, please.
Sure. Yeah. I think, I can talk a little bit about storytelling. We create authentic stories. And I think for me, it's something that we just do it. it's there. And I sort of like, in hindsight, I sort of like came up with an analysis of how we do it, that we have sort of like a formula. But to be honest, I didn't study it or anything. We just started. So that's one thing is, if you're passionate about something and you don't know how to do it, just start doing it, rather than just studying it or whatever. I mean, at least I'm a person who grows more, who learns faster from experience than from theory. So that's one thing. When it comes to the importance of storytelling, I mean, the stories that we tell each other have a huge impact on how we look at the world and also how we act within this world. And that's not just me saying it, and I experienced that myself, and I think everybody has. I mean, a lot of people, when you ask them, what inspired change in you, many people say that they saw, for example, I don't know, they saw a documentary or they've heard of a story and it influenced their lives. And it is Yuval Harari, one of the historian and author of Homo Deus and Sapiens and many other books, one of the people I admire most. He also talks about the incredible importance of storytelling. He says the fact that we have become, if we want to call it that way, in this Anthropocene that we live in, that we are the dominant species, is because we tell stories to each other and we can believe in stories, and it motivates us to act in a certain way. So storytelling has a huge influence. And that is the opening video. I don't know, for the people who tuned in later, the person who opened basically this interview, the clip that we showed was from Rutger Bregman, and he's Dutch. He's also from international acclaim. He wrote a couple of books, Humankind: A Hopeful History. He just wrote a new book about moral ambition. But he talks about the importance of storytelling and media, and what most news media does is that they focus on exceptions all the time. Then many times, most of the times, those are negative exceptions. And why do they do that? Because our reptile brain is still programmed. Is there something negative? It might affect my own personal life. I don't know. 10,000 years ago, when we were running through the forest and we heard maybe a certain sound, maybe there was an animal that we needed to protect ourselves from. Whenever we hear something that sort of like triggers like our reptile brain in danger, then we're still triggered to keep on watching or to click. And that is what most media do. And this gives us a very skewed view on reality, because it isn't reality. As Rutger Bregman said, if you watch the news all the time, you know exactly how the world doesn't work, because it's just all these exceptions. And thank God there are so many amazing people and organizations who do amazing things for other people, for our planet. They do it every day, but they just don't get the attention that they deserve. So that's what I said with Bright Vibes. I want to give a stage. I want to put the people and the organizations in the spotlight who are actually working on solving the huge challenges that we face. Because we definitely face a lot of challenges, for sure. But by telling these stories of people and organizations who have come up with parts or with solutions or parts of solutions or a direction of solutions, just by showing these stories, we can inspire many other people to help those people or those organizations. And that's what we do. So, as we call it, we amplify the good, and we do that through contagiously inspiring stories. So on our platform, on Bright Vibes, you will only find stories that inspire. And when it comes to storytelling, we do have sort of like we distilled sort of like a formula, and that's what we call the 3 H's. So one is that we use emotion to reach people's hearts. We always have emotion in our stories, always. And you don't need to be like a storyteller or whatever. You worked in Hollywood for years, for decades, to know when you created something that touches people's hearts. It just, when it touches your heart, it touches everybody's heart. That's how my heart at least works. So the first thing is use emotion, provoke emotion to touch people's hearts, because that is the way in to people's heads. So they open up they open up to new ideas. And what we do in our videos is that we always have a call to action. So we give people the opportunity to get their hands moving. So yeah, if I need to sort of like, express it, it's like we touch people's hearts so they open up their heads, and we give them ideas to get their hands moving. And that's what we do. And the impact of it is just, I mean, it's way bigger than I could have imagined. And it is what keeps me going every day.
Amen. And that's true, Michiel. It's Garth, I'm going to get us to change screens if you can. Thank you. And I agree. You know, what I know when I watch your videos is it changes the way that I look at the world every time. And that spreads. And I know you say you have a 20 million reach, but that goes so much further, because every time we're changing a heart and we're changing a mind, that's the amplification. That's the impact beyond what we're ever going to truly measure. And that's what you need to know about the work you do as well. You know, you have so many of your followers are on Facebook. I want you to know you have so many people on Bright Vibes Facebook right now who are with us. Thank you for coming, everyone. And it's because those are your fans. They're not just followers. They're just fans of the work that you do. So thank you, my friend. Dr. Roshnak, I know you want to follow up with another question.
I do. I'm going to table the value part of the question that we were just talking about to follow up on the storytelling for a minute, and this idea of how the narratives that have been put out to us in the world, and as the first video showed, or the opening video showed, is that, you know, so I'll tell you something. So I'm a neuroscientist, and I'll tell you that what the brain can comprehend, it accepts as true, and it takes work for us to change that. And so if we're not paying attention, if we're not present, here's the conscious part of it.
Yes.
We tend to go through things sort of almost passively and unconsciously. We receive information. We're like, okay. And we overestimate what is happening inside of us and how we're receiving that information and the impact it's having on us. And so when we were having a little conversation before the show, you mentioned this book, Not the End of the World.
Yes.
And how we're at an inflection point. And so I want to use that. I would like you to tell us a little bit about that, but I want to use that as an example of how we have, in some parts of the world, quite a lot more than others, but by and large, we have all subscribed, we have all internalized the idea of bimodal thinking. Just earlier today, I was listening to a 12-year-old girl of a famous person, a famous business person, getting up there and saying, if you're not too much, you're too little. If you're not too loud, you're too quiet. And people are like, yes, yes. And I'm going, no. It is this extremism and this bimodality of this or that, left or right, black or white, you're with us or you're against us, that is causing the problem in the first place.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's like these false, how do you call those? It's false, I don't know what the English word is. False contradictions. I mean, and people force you all the time, you know, to pick sides, and, you know, the world isn't black and white. It isn't. And I think that is extremely important. And I also, when people ask me these type of questions, where it's like, I don't know, when it comes to the war in Israel, or when it comes to, it's like, both, you know, there's so much suffering going on, and it is horrible. It's just horrible. And there's, I cannot there. It's not about picking sides. And I think we're being forced all the time, also by media, to say either you're with us or you're against us. And, you know, things are much more complex than that. They try to simplify basically everything, and that's not very helpful.
So I was just saying, when you said that, if you have to pick a side, let's pick the side of humanity. That's somehow, that's very much related to how Humanity's Team actually came to be when Neil Donald Walsh had a dream and everybody was out there, with their different teams. And who's going to represent Humanity's Team?
Yeah.
And so if we have to choose, why don't we choose?
Yeah.
And I'll do this in honor of my beautiful co-host, Jacqueline, love. Why don't we choose love?
Yeah.
Why don't we choose collaboration instead of competition? Why don't we choose what causes us all to do better and feel better rather than to suffer and to self-soothe? And so that leads to all the different kinds of addiction that most of us aren't even aware we have. And so, okay, going back to the book and this idea of it, first of all, we're not pulling into extremes. We've made that clear. And then if we then can disabuse ourselves of being extremists, even if we don't think that we are, when we, unconsciously say, oh yeah, it must be this and it must be that. And everyone was saying, I'm going to be too much, so I don't be too little. I'm going to be too loud, so I don't be too quiet. I'm like, there's something in between. I don't have to scream or not be non-existent. I can just talk and be heard and be connected to and be loved and be, have an effect. I can have an impact without screaming. Actually, probably I'll do better to have that impact. And so now that we've disabused ourselves of that idea, let's disabuse ourselves of the idea of we're sinking and there's no hope.
Exactly. Yeah, no, but I mean, and that is, and I forgot her first name, but I know that her last name is Ritchie, Ritchie. I-E. Thank you, Jacqueline. Always struggling, a little bit dyslexic. She wrote a book about the book. Her book is called "Not the End of the World," and what she actually is arguing is pretty counterintuitive to what the story that we hear and that we believed. And it's an interesting story. I'm not saying that, again, there are no extremes. But it's really interesting. What she's saying basically is, I think it is a subtitle of her, or the tagline of her book, is that we, the generation of today, we who are living today, might be the first generation who actually takes sustainability at heart, become the first sustainable generation. And this sounds very counterintuitive. It's not what we think of. We think we're just, destroying the planet, and which is partly true, which is true. But it's not that in the past we used to romanticize. We tend to romanticize the past. It's not that in the past we were caring so much about the planet. It wasn't that everybody lived like indigenous people do. London 100 years ago was one of the filthiest cities ever. It's just that if you look at where we are today, we are definitely, with global warming, inequality, and there's these really big issues. And by the way, it is those issues that made me want to start Bright Vibes. So my fuel are my worries. It's not that I'm not worried, because I am worried. But it's really interesting to think about where we are today. If you look at, let's say, clean energy, in developed countries right now, more than 50% of the energy that's being generated is generated through sustainable sources. That was 20 years ago, that was completely unthinkable, and we're doing it. If you look at the progress, and there's still a big disparity between the rich and the poor, and that is a problem. It is definitely a problem. But if we look at the number of people who have been raised out of extreme poverty, that's quite an achievement. If we look at a mortality of children, the children under 5, how that number has decreased, the number of children that die before they're 5 years old, thanks to all sorts of vaccination and better, healthier food and all that. It's just it is really, really quite an achievement. So yeah, there's a lot to worry about. There's a lot of work to do, most definitely. But we can fix this, and it's not like as Richie's arguing. Actually, in the past, it's not that people really cared that much about the environment. We just started doing that about, what is it, 15, 20 years ago. And if you look at the steps that we're taking, that to me makes me very hopeful.
I love that you've said this too, Michael. I'll wait till we're all back on screen.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the things that I love about the work that Bright Vibes does, and obviously it's the heart of who you are. You have a video that's up there. I'll see if I can find it and put it up on the link as well. And it's the video.
Hannah, thank you.
It's the video where
Hannah, thank you for the book.
It's the video where you literally talk about the fact that, people have you in Bright Vibes wrong sometimes. It's not that you just see life through, rose-colored glasses. I personally get this a lot as well. Tell us about that, because, when you look at your website, sometimes that's all you see is like, oh, well, this is just all good. This is, I'm going to use your words from earlier. This is bullshit, right? There's so much bad that's going on. Tell us about that and how you view the world, really.
I think it's very important to be aware of all the problems and the challenges that we face. So, and we need to report on it. We need to report on that, but we also need to report on what are the root causes and what are solutions. So solution-based journalism, I think, is something that's lacking big time. And this is again, this black and white, yes, no, with or against us. I'm not arguing that people should only consume the content that we put out. I think it's very important that people also look for other sources. What I think is really important is that people are aware of what they consume and that they make conscious decisions. Because it's a little bit, there are these sayings about, well, you become what you eat or you become what you read. But we have to be aware, this is literally also the way the algorithms work on social media. Yes. You become your social feed.
Yes.
So
Jacqueline's always saying that.
Oh my God.
I think
this is my next question for you. So I love it that you're going there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, but I think it is so important that we are aware of what we like and what we share and what we comment on. And maybe we do need to suppress a little bit this reptile brain that just makes us go, whoa, no, I'm really angry. And then blah, you start typing, or I hate this. And then you just, the way the algorithm work is that it will just give you more. If you see something that you don't like or that makes you feel bad, hide it. Stop following it. But the more you just go against it, it will just be, basically, you're just talking to the wall. It's not going to help, and you will just get more of it.
Yeah.
So, I think the influence that this has, and that you also have on what you get served, literally, I think it's important to realize this.
I'm so glad you're bringing that up. It's so important, right?
And it feeds exactly into what we were talking about. I know I'm going to let you finish, but the idea that, and Jacqueline, you always hold up your phone. You're like, I am this, and it's all about love and joy and happiness and giving. And so what the algorithms do is they feed the bias and they feed the division and they feed the bimodality, right? Because then you think, since all you're getting is this one thing, then you think that you're completely justified, and that's what the whole world is. And so we don't get a nice balance, whereas before we were able to read different things and see different things and not just have confirmation bias, ad nauseum. So I think that's really important to think about.
Yeah. It sure is. Yeah, Jacqueline, and now getting back to your point about, people saying that I look through the world through pink glasses. It's something that I specifically have. This happens more often when I'm with I'm not a journalist, but when I'm with journalists or media people, they, it's mostly those people that go like, oh yeah, I can imagine that you're happy all day because you only see good stuff and you probably think that the whole world is just like that, but it ain't. And I know, I know that. And it is the worries that I have about the fact that we are basically, we're consuming the world faster than it can regenerate itself. And that some eat a lot and others, many are left with the crumbs. Those are the two key issues that worry me deeply. And I want to improve. I want to help make things better. And that's why I started Bright Vibes. And, so that's also my answer to the people that tell me like, you just see the world through pink glasses. No, I definitely don't. But it's showing what's going well and helping amplify that, because the media that we put out there, it's not just a mirror of real life. It is actually it has a force to create. And actually, so if we use it to magnify all the misery, we will create more misery. And if we magnify the good out there and people working their beeps off in order to make things better, then we'll make things better. That's just how it works. It's actually pretty simple.
Just one little thing I'd like to add in there quickly is, people don't realize this, but happy people are more generous. They give more, right? So the happier your brain is, the more you're consuming from the media perspective that's making you feel good, is our opportunity where we actually come from that happy place and we're willing and easily we give more back to the world as well. So when we're talking about sustainability and taking care of each other and unity and peace and all of those words that we want, by people just going and watching Bright Vibes videos, literally, it will make you feel happier, which in turn makes us all go back and work together more to create this world that you're talking about now, that I believe is possible.
But we get that back from our community as well. I mean, I love it once in a while, when I really need to, get some confirmation. Sometimes I need it. I just need to say people nice things to me. And then I
just call me.
I ask our community or Jacqueline, like, no, but what does Bright Vibes mean to you? And that is so incredibly heartwarming. It's faith in humanity. It is hope. Some people just go like, I just feel like when I watch your stuff, I feel like doing something good. I mean, that is, for me, and unfortunately, it is priceless. It is very difficult to put a price tag to it, but it is definitely priceless.
I'll give you a little science to back all this up, shall I?
Yes, please do.
I'd love to pull that science in and put it all into context, because we forget how powerful these vehicles in which we exist are. And the first thing is, as Jacqueline said, there's so much data for a long time now that shows that when we are in a good state, we are kinder, we're more understanding, we're more patient. And we know that from our own experience too. When you're in a good mood, when you're in a good place, you let things go, you let it roll off your back, you give another smile because you got one, you're in a good state. So you're like, I can afford to be, let's talk about value and currency. I can afford to be, this is real wealth. I'm wealthier, therefore I can afford to share a little bit more wealth. The more I have, the more I can give, just proportionately speaking. If I have $10 and I want to give one, but if I have $100, I can give 10, you see. So this idea that when you're in a better state, you actually propagate more of a better state. That's scientifically shown, first of all. Second of all, now let's talk about the reverse. So it's important to be aware of what's going on in the world. We're not talking toxic positivity. I can't speak. What we're talking about is not dwelling. So I want to get that information. So as you said, so that I can go move towards the solution. That information should only be on my radar long enough to let me know, to alert me.
Yeah, there's a problem.
That there is something that needs to be addressed. Yes. There is an action, as you said earlier, that needs to be taken. And then the rest of my focus would be on that, because, and here's how the brain works for sure, is if we are inundated with things that we feel, we've got no control over those things. There's a war going on. What am I supposed to do? I can't do anything. If I feel disempowered, the brain detects control. science, pure neurobiology. The brain detects control. And if you do not have that control, that detection of that control, then you will have anxiety, and you will also feel like you're not going to do anything, because the brakes are put on your ability to take action. We've all seen this. This is with chronic stress, right? This chronic feeling of, I feel that I can't do something about this. And so I will now end up in this negative state of worry, anxiety, and immobility. Literally, I will not take action. And that is not a good place to be. So what you're doing, what anybody can do in being present and conscious and focusing on solution, as you said, not disconnecting completely from, oh, this is bad, I don't want to know about it, but informing ourselves with the intention, always intention, of getting to better. Then we will take action. The brain will detect control, and it will then change its signs, as it were, on the amygdala and the periaqueductal gray, which are responsible for us feeling like we're not going to be able to take action and that we're worried and have anxiety. And there's a neuroplasticity that occurs in another part of the brain that then has us expecting that we can do something moving forward. How powerful is that? Is that when something comes up, our brain tells us, you can do something, go do something. And we do. So what you're bringing to the world, or what anybody can bring to the world with conscious content creation, is an absolute change of trajectory that, with the ripple effect and this domino effect, can and has been shown in the past historically to create real, tangible change.
Exactly.
So this is the power of what you're doing.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, maybe I can also back it up with one of my heroes. So it's one of the people I interviewed, and the video, I think it's been viewed 10 million times, and I'm sure that it inspired thousands, if not tens of thousands of people to actually take action. And this is the story of Afroz Shah from Mumbai, and it's I think it's now about 8 years ago or 9 years ago. He's a lawyer by day, and that's his job. But he lives by the sea at Mumbai Beach, and Mumbai Beach was up to I think it was up to his chest, full of an incredible amount of plastic pollution of Mumbai Beach. It was completely flooded with plastic. And as Avros said it so beautifully, he said, you take care of what you love, and I'm an ocean lover. So I'm an ocean lover. I'm a friend of the environment. So I'm a friend of the environment, and you take care of what you love. So what he did, and he just started in his free time, together with his 80-plus-year-old neighbor, he started to clean up plastic. And he did that almost, he said, he did it almost for 3 months, and with very little help. But after 3 months, people were wondering, like, who is this guy? He must be committed. I think that's one of the things that's important for people to start taking action and join. Like, he showed his commitment together with his neighbor. That's when he started a movement. And it's a movement where he had now involved 100,000 citizens. They cleaned up Mumbai Beach. He saw, and he told me this, and he still almost had tears. The tears came in his eyes again when he told me about the moment that he got a call that for the first time in 25 years, turtles were hatching. And he saw these, and so he went to the beach, and he saw these little, they're so cute, and he saw these turtles going there. Amazing. And it's an important story. It's an important story because Afros he's like, for me, he's like the embodiment of Mahatma Gandhi. So be the change you want to see. Be the change you want to see. And then he tells, don't tell people what to do or not what to do. Inspire them and ask them if they're interested to join you. And that's how he started this movement. And then there are critics that go like, yeah, but then came another rainy season, and then came another flood with loads of plastic. This is an intelligent person. You're right, afros. So, but it was just starting with collecting the plastic and mobilizing so many people. But then he started to talk to Nestle, and he started to talk to Coca-Cola, and he started to talk to local governments, and to improve and to educate the local population. He got support from the Indian army, who helped him, the Indian prime minister to help him. And he, it started with a little, collecting plastics, and look at what he achieved. And he's still at it, by the way. So if you follow him on Instagram, Afros Shah, follow him on Instagram or on LinkedIn, it is unbelievable. That guy is an absolute hero. And he's it's like exactly what you said, Roshanek. That's how it works. That's how it works. Wow, what a hero. What a hero. There are many more.
So in case you were wondering what I wrote, everybody, I said invitations are hard to resist. If somebody tells you do this, you're like, but if you're invited, then it feels so good, because we love to create, we love to collaborate, we love to connect, we love to do good. And it wakes that up in us.
That's a very, very important point as well, is about when I started Bright Vibes, I started it with under the assumption that most people just want to do better. Most people, I believe, and that's what Rutger Bregman wrote this book about, Humankind: A Hopeful History. Maybe we can put that in read it, because it's an amazing book, and it's backed up by science that most people are decent people, actually, and most people want to do better. They want to do better for themselves, they want to do better for other people, and they want to do better for the planet. They often just don't know where to start. So seeing other people acting up, taking those first steps, then they love to follow up. And Rutger, in his new book about moral ambition, he researched why in one village during World War II in the Netherlands, there was this one village where that with the highest percentage of people taking in Jewish refugees. They hid Jewish refugees. And there was this one village where so many people did it. And they researched what was the reason why so many people helped so many people to hide. And, he found out, it's just literature, so it's research. The research showed that it wasn't a specific trait or a characteristic of those people. There is, of course, an instigator. There's this one guy who started and who took them in himself. And then he started to ask people to join him. And that's how it started. And that's why they did it. And people with a higher education, lower education, rich people, poor people, they couldn't find the common denominator. The common denominator was that they were asked. So that's another thing. And it's also, it completely ties into what you were just saying. It is so important for the people that do good. And if you do good with well intentions, show it and tell people about it. It will just inspire others to join you. So don't be afraid. If you helped someone, I mean, it's different. Let's say, I think that's important. You have a lot of those influencers that, for example, give a lot of money to a homeless person, but they do it for the gram. They do it for the money. They do it for the ads. And I think that's horrible. I think that we should definitely not do, and that's not something I want to stimulate or propagate. But definitely, if you help someone with good intentions, not to get better of it from yourself, but to improve the situation of that person, please, please, please talk about it, because it will just get a lot of people great ideas to also step up.
I would love to follow that up with something that Neil Donald Walsh and I were discussing yesterday, but I would like to emphasize what you said, and that is most people want to do good and want to do better and want to create better.
Yes.
They just don't know where to go or how or what to do. And when somebody else comes up with an idea, just as much as if we ourselves come up with an idea and shares that by means of an invitation, not only is the invitation, of course, inviting, but also gives a direction, gives a path to what we could do to then create better. So that's an amazing thing, because We want to do better. We don't know what to do. And then there's nothing coming in that will focus our attention on an action to take that will improve. And this way, we create a win-win situation. We move forward on that thing that is on our soul's agenda, that, brings forth our blessing and our skills and our creativity and desire of that passion to express it, as we discussed earlier. But also, it's infectious in the best of ways, in that for those who are waiting for something to do, for those who don't have it on their radar, they now have the opportunity. It's an offer and a guide of here's how I can move forward and take an action, and here's the action. And there's the joy of doing it with others, because we love to connect, and that releases all kinds of neurotransmitters and hormones that make us feel better, that drive our intrinsic motivation to do more, longer, and feel better about it.
Exactly. That's so true. That's what we see a lot in comments as well. When it comes to people, for example, I don't know, we made a story about an 11-year-old girl, Lily, who is very well educated, and she knows so much about litter and the effects of litter. So she picks up loads of litter. And every time that we do a video on someone who's really committed in doing this, we get so many comments from people who do the same. And it's just so motivating for them. They go like, "Oh, I'm not the only crazy one." Like I do. I hardly ever feature in videos, but when I go, one of my favorite places to go to is a Spanish island, Menorca. It's a small Balearic island. It's beautiful. The sea is amazing. I love snorkeling. But a few years ago, there was loads of plastic there. So I made this video about, this is the latest holiday craze, and it's about cleaning up beaches and seas. And of course, I know that I cannot do that. My influence, but for me, it's like a hobby. It's like I actually have fun whilst doing it. And there were so many people go like, I'm that crazy person too, and that's stimulating as well.
Jacqueline, can I bring up that point with Neil?
Sure.
Okay. So you were talking about the value that we have, the wealth of, if you want to do something because it comes from your heart and your love and your spirit and you're expressing yourself, authentic self, then great. But if you're doing something, to feed the homeless or whatever good, to just get likes and financial wealth, etc., it has a very different energy.
Yes.
And I was talking to Neil because, sustainable conscious business, to make money, we have these giant, awful corporations, which I won't name right now, but I really want to. And
you can do it too.
And they make money, creating weapons of war and bringing harm to all of us on multiple levels. And then there are those of us who are doing good and want to do good, but, financially not so rewarding. And Neil said that once upon a time, and so people will say to him, "Oh, well, it's easy for you to give things away now. You already made your money, your book, your this and that." But apparently, for decades before that book ever came out, he had been offering his services without a fee. He actually took ads out in the paper. This is obviously decades ago. So he couldn't afford like big ads. So he took out, an ad, like the small little, like in the personals or whatever.
Yeah.
And he wrote, what he was offering. And he said, no fee required. That's not to say you won't accept what somebody can offer you that represents the value that they see in you and what they have to offer. But it does change the energetic balance of an energy. How is energy flowing? I just use the word flow, current and currency. Oh yeah, money is currency. Wealth is currency. It flows between us. And so the idea that it has a very different energy, we talked about this yesterday, when you choose to do something just to bring in the wealth, is a very different energy, and people feel that. How many times have we gone into a place and we go, "Ooh, this place is a great vibe. Let's stay here." Or, "Ooh, something just went down here. This is not very good. Let's get out of here." And we have no idea of what's been going on there, but we sense it, we feel it. And so when we go into something like a conscious business or a B Corp or a nonprofit, it takes so much of a labor, and that labor of love is not to be underestimated. But for people to say, well, you shouldn't get financial reward, that's like saying there's no value in that. And so I would like to bring forth the idea of we need to change the narrative around wealth and this currency.
And
Because
success.
if we value success, what is the definition of success?
What do we
Yeah.
value? I mean, I think, but that is so incredibly important, but it's so ingrained in us, is that we admire stuff. We think we admire stuff, and we think we admire people who have a lot of stuff. And I think that is actually that's so wrong. And it's like us consuming and buying stuff, and people who think, I need 1 million, and then you have 1 million, and you think, oh, but now I need 10 million. And when you have 10 million, you think you need 100 million. You're just trying to fill a hole in your heart, and that's impossible to fill with stuff. But it's hard to resist, because I think that is what, and that definitely is a criticism to the way our society is currently organized, and media plays a huge role in this, is that we are being bombarded with just consume and you'll be happy. And if you look at talk to marketers, people who like branding, one of the love brands is Coca-Cola. And Coca-Cola is they sell sugary water, actually, that makes your teeth rot. It makes you thick. They are number 2, I think. We're number 1. They're competing with another big corporate on the biggest single-use plastic polluter. But they are admired. And they are admired for what? For their tagline. Do you know what the tagline of Coca-Cola is?
I don't.
It's share the happiness.
Right.
Share the happiness. What the F? Share the happiness.
It's all branding. It's the story.
You share
right?
the death. Yeah.
We believe
Share
it.
how you're
It's like,
share how you're killing yourself. Yeah.
share the happiness. What the hell? Yeah, diabetes too. Is like this is
Yeah,
terrible.
it's good.
Marketing
Share how we
with those
rot
happy
our
people.
system.
Right, but doesn't show the truth of how it's affecting your body and how it's affecting
Mhm.
your life.
Do an MBA. If you go whatever business school, they go like, oh, Coca-Cola. It's one of it's like, oh, we admire them. It's like, you admire Coca-Cola? They're horrible. It's not. There's not much goodness in there. But that's what we call happiness. It's like, come on, get out of here. What makes us happy is having a nice conversation with someone, taking care of someone, helping somebody else, having fun with people you care about, or just talking to a stranger, or
But that's what
exchanging
they
a look
do.
or a smile, or enjoying nature,
But
clean
don't they
air.
show all of that and then put Coke in the middle as if that's what made you happy? But it isn't.
No.
It's exactly what you said that's bringing the happiness. You just happen to be messing it up with this drink.
Yes, that's and that's the cold hard truth. So we've got some redefinitioning to do, right? So it's about happiness. What makes us happy? Gee, we've been told that we should just consume loads of stuff and that will make you happy. Well, I don't think that's really true. It doesn't hold for me, at least. And I'm not saying, by the way, very important, if you have financial stress, or if that's horrible. That's horrible. And you already mentioned that as well. It's like, that's literally killing you. So I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about people who are, I don't know, us in the Western world, who are not suffering from economic stress. We should become a little bit more conscious, not just of what we consume in terms of media, but also in terms of goods and stuff, and which hole are we trying to fill. So I think that's really, it's so interesting. We did a video. I'll go a little bit sideways now, but it's a little bit a different subject. But we did a video on Marijn, a Dutch guy who in his spare time gives happiness lessons to children. He studied psychology, applied psychology, and so he knows about the theory of happiness. And he made an educational program for it. And he gives those lessons himself. We made the video. The video was viewed over 10 million times. The program that he had in a PDF was translated to 7 languages and downloaded 30,000 times. So there are hundreds of thousands of children who have now been, introduced to the theory of happiness. Isn't it unbelievable that we teach marketing and blah, 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 and how to be a so-called, good citizen and live up to the expectations, but we don't talk about happiness or what it is or what it means or just...
Okay, hold on. We do.
Yeah, you do. You do.
We do.
Thank God.
I teach this.
No, but I would say,
in general, we don't teach it enough in schools, right?
You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? So it's no wonder
that
that we're confused about what happiness is. And, it's probably drinking Coca-Cola. Well, I've got
a few episodes ago, Jacqueline and I actually did a whole thing on happiness for anybody.
Yeah, we did. We did a whole month on happiness.
Michiel,
I want to ask you about one more thing because our time is almost done, and I know we'll be able to talk for hours on this.
Yes.
And I would like, I know that Bright Vibes is, I want to say you're shifting your model. Your model is staying the same, but you've opened up a lot of opportunities for people to work with you, which haven't, it's new. And I love this new concept that you've created for Bright Vibes because it's allowing, the good companies in the world that are doing good things to now shine a light.
Exactly.
And so you now have opened that door. Tell us a little bit about that door you've opened and tell us how you define the ROI for brands that you're working with.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. That's true. I'll try to keep it short, but important for social entrepreneurs or mission-driven entrepreneurs. I think I sort of identified the 3 I's. So when I started Bright Vibes, I wanted to have a positive impact. Impact, that's number 1. Impact. And I have loads of impact and I'm very, very happy about that. The second one, sorry, this doesn't work because I need to translate it to English. It's an I in Dutch, but it isn't in
That's
English.
Okay, give us the Dutch word first. We know we have some Dutch listeners out there. I'm sure of it.
But the word is inhoud. Inhoud, and inhoud means content, substance. So, and content for me means I want to make something beautiful. I want to have something that is challenging for me personally and anyone who works with Bright Vibes, that the contents that they get that they are surrounded by has a positive impact. And the third I in Dutch, again, I'm silly, it's all in Dutch. No, actually this works in English as well. It's income, the I of income.
Okay. Yeah.
And I sort of neglected it. So for me, for many years, it was okay, so just as long as I can pay the bills at the end of the year, at the end of the month, it's fine, but actually that is not sustainable as a business. Mm-hmm. And I did I'm very satisfied with what we did in terms of impact. I'm very satisfied in terms of what we did in terms of content, inkomen in Dutch. So the content, the contents, but I'm not satisfied with the income. And so what I did is I shifted the emphasis on what we do and the energy that we put in to work more with organizations, foundations, and brands that are serious about doing good and who need help with their storytelling and who want to have stories, authentic storytelling that actually has an impact because we can share it with our audience, and our audience is waiting for opportunities to consume more sustainably, to contribute positive, to personally grow, etc. So bringing those 2 together is a huge opportunity. And what the world that I'm trying to contribute to, I know it's a big thing, is that we need to redefine what ROI stands for, because currently in the financial world, the ROI stands for return on investment. But what if we would live in a world where we would go for return on impact? If you as an organization have a positive impact, you have a positive return. If you as an organization have a negative impact, you should have a negative return. And in order to get there, there's this movement going on, which is called true pricing. And it means basically that we put a price tag included in the price of what the social costs are and the costs to our planet. And if we do that, then we have a working economic model that will just stimulate organizations and people and brands to have a truly positive net impact. And once we have that, then I will have a wonderful business. But until then, we love working with brands and foundations, organizations, and individuals who are serious about having a positive impact, but who need help in telling those stories, in making those stories come alive in an authentic way. So we don't do commercials. We don't work with actors. We tell the real story. That's what we do, and we do it very effectively in an authentic manner. And that's what we stand for. We stand in this age of AI. We also stand for AI, but AI with us is authentic inspiration. That's what AI is to me.
Love that. Well, and I really want people to listen to this, because what we know, and I love that you brought ROI into this, because what the science also tells us and the research tells us is that companies that do good, they do good, because it actually increases, and not a little bit. We're talking 14, 15, 16%. It increases their bottom line when they're doing good, because it's increasing the happiness. All the things we talked about today. It's increasing the happiness of the people. It's making them feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. They're happy to be part of that company and brand. It's what we're seeing in millennials and the next generation right now, is they want to be part of companies that are doing good in the world.
Exactly.
And what better place than to work with all of you to tell that story. And this is the part I love the most, to get put on your platform. I mean, that's the remarkable gift on this, is that it's such a beautiful, you say this all the time, Dr. Roshanak, it's the win-win, right? Is the gorgeous stories are being told about the companies that are out there doing the good work, and they get to put it on your platform as well, which, sorry, but I mean, talk about an engaged platform. 2 million fans just on Facebook alone. That's, and engaged people. I mean, we're seeing it today as they engage live as well. It's just absolutely beautiful. So I love that you're shifting to this model, because this gives the companies that opportunity to actually partner with somebody who's going to be effective for them, versus just, okay, let's pay Facebook some more money to do more brands and cost more money, or Google ads and all of those other ways that brands pay the big bucks and pay the big companies more and more. Let's do it around the other way and work with the people that are actually doing good for good, right? And that's what we were talking about yesterday, is working in collaboration, and creating these partnerships where it's continuing the good in our world. And man, my friends, you do that, like, you blow my mind. I never got to tell this story, but before we go, the first time I was introduced to Bright Vibes, you scared the living daylights out of me, because your brand was so big, and a girlfriend introduced me to you, and I'm like, he's never going to speak to me. I'm just like this little tiny charitable organization in Canada. He's never going to talk to me. And I just feel so blessed that, our friendship, that, I mean, everyone got to meet you today and see the beautiful heart that you are, and the amazing work that you're doing, my friend.
Blushing again, full circle.
That's okay. You can blush all you want. And we always have one final question for our guests. We've already gone a little over time, but we cannot go without our final question. And it's our get off the couch moment. Mm-hmm. And we ask our guests, if there's one thing today you would like to share with all of our audience, your audience, everyone that's here today with us, if there's one thing you could share that would get people off the couch and get them moving towards the good for our world, what would that one thing be that you would tell them today?
Oh, that one thing. Oh,
I know, only one.
I hate making choices.
Hold on, but I'm going to tell them one thing first. You get 10 seconds to think about it. My one thing for everybody today is go start consuming and watching Bright Vibes videos, because that's going to get you up and going. That's my thing, but you get to share your thing now.
I would say, if you don't already do what really matters to you, investigate what that is. Spend time, create a headspace to find out what it is that really makes you tick, that you think is really important, and then start working on it. Start doing it, talk about it, ask for help, and share it. That's it.
That's excellent. Oh my God, I love that. That is so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jacqueline Rochenek. I loved it, absolutely, and thank you audience for sticking up with us for such a long time. Yeah, hope everybody enjoyed it. It was great fun for me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
How wonderful to hear that. Michiel de Gooijer, thanks so
Oh,
much
10
for joining
points.
us.
I'm not
Better
going to
and better.
attempt that.
Thank you so much for joining us. We are so honored to have you come and share your heart and your mind with us, and therefore give us the courage to hit the reset button and be able to go and live better, do better, be better, and create the world that we want to live in. Thank you so much. And we had up on the screen the different ways in which people could connect with you on Facebook, on Instagram, on your website, brightvibes.com. And if they want to there it is. Thank you,
Yep.
production team. You're awesome. And also if they want to partner with you, brightvibes.com/partner.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. There we go. If anybody would like to connect with our beautiful guest, then that's how we could do it. We also would like to thank everybody who's been listening, who spent the time with us here today, for all their beautiful comments. For those who are listening to the recording, we hope that this has served you well and has inspired you to show what you're passionate about, get creative, and make that invitation for people to join you to be solution oriented and to create the world that you just dream about. You don't have to just dream about it, you can make it, right? We can create
Exactly.
it. So Jacqueline, if you want to say anything, but and then I'll talk about what next week is.
No, let's go to next week. Michiel has given us so much time.
So much, and we're so grateful for it. So next week, we are moving out of our Conscious Business Month. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. We are starting it with a different tack on that with our founder of Humanities Team, Neil Donald Walsh. He will join us next week on May 7th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time, and everything in between and over, to discuss his sort of get off the couch and the highlights of the things that he has over the amazing life that he has spent, all his experiences. He's going to share with us the highlights of that and what he thinks is the most important thing that he's experienced, learned, would like to express to everyone in the world so that we can, in fact, live these beautiful, meaningful lives. So thank you, everybody. Namaste. God bless.
Namaste.
Thank you again, Michiel.
Namaste.
We hope to see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.